Success and struggle are not decided by intelligence, talent, or even motivation. They are decided quietly, every day, by habits so small and boring that most people ignore them. That's why this topic matters, because if success depended on talent alone, you'd already be where you want to be. And if struggle was caused by laziness, you wouldn't feel this constant pressure inside you. The truth is, most people don't fail loudly. They fail slowly. They fail through routines that drain their energy, habits that confuse their brain, and systems that work against them instead of for them. And the dangerous part is, they don't even realize it's happening. Let me start with something uncomfortable but freeing. Most students and young adults are not struggling because they don't try hard enough. They're struggling because their daily habits are quietly sabotaging their brain. You wake up tired, even after sleeping. You plan to study, but your mind feels heavy. You sit down to work, but starting feels painful. By the end of the day, you feel guilty, behind, and disappointed in yourself. And slowly, that disappointment turns into identity. You start thinking, maybe I'm just not disciplined. Maybe others are built differently. That belief is more damaging than any bad habit, because once you believe struggle is who you are, you stop believing change is possible. But struggle isn't who you are, it's how your days are designed. The habits that decide your future don't look dramatic. They don't feel powerful in the moment. In fact, they often feel insignificant. That's why people ignore them. But your brain doesn't care about motivation speeches. Your brain cares about patterns. It cares about consistency, safety, energy, and predictability. And when your habits support those things, success feels natural. When they don't, even simple tasks feel impossible. Let's talk about the first habit that decides everything: how you start your day. Not what time you wake up, not how early, but what you expose your mind to in the first minutes after waking. Most people open their phone before they open their eyes. Notifications, messages, social media, comparison, news, stress. Your brain is half awake, vulnerable, and unprotected. The moment you do this, your nervous system shifts into reaction mode. You're not choosing your day anymore. Your day is choosing you. And once your brain enters reaction mode, focus becomes harder for the rest of the day. You feel scattered, rushed, and mentally noisy. That single habit alone decides whether your day feels calm or chaotic. People who succeed don't necessarily wake up motivated. They wake up protected. They give their brain a few minutes of silence, light, stillness, orientation. This isn't discipline, it's damage control. When you delay stimulation, you preserve mental energy. When you protect mental energy, self-control becomes easier later. This is how habits work together. One small habit creates the conditions for the next one. The second habit that decides success or struggle is clarity. Most people wake up without a clear plan. Their brain immediately starts asking questions. What should I do first? When should I study? What's urgent? What can I delay? These questions seem normal, but they are expensive. Every decision costs energy. By the time you sit down to work, your brain is already tired. That's why people procrastinate even when they want to succeed. It's not resistance to work, it's exhaustion from thinking. Successful people reduce decisions. They don't decide during the day, they decide before the day. They write down what matters in advance. Not 10 tasks, not an overwhelming list, just a few clear actions. This gives the brain relief. Relief improves sleep. Better sleep improves focus. Focus improves discipline. Again, habits stack quietly. Now let's talk about environment, because this is where most people misunderstand discipline. They think discipline is something you force from inside. It's not. Discipline is something you design from the outside. If your phone is next to you, part of your brain is resisting it. If your bed is too close, part of your brain wants comfort. If notifications are on, your attention is constantly being pulled. Resistance feels like effort. Effort drains energy. Energy loss leads to quitting. People who succeed don't fight their environment. They simplify it. One place for work, one place for rest. Clear boundaries. Over time, your brain learns associations. This is where we focus, this is where we relax. That conditioning is powerful. Eventually, discipline doesn't feel like forcing yourself. It feels like stepping into the right space. Another habit that quietly decides your future is how you start tasks. Most people wait to feel ready. They wait for motivation, they wait for confidence. That wait never ends. The brain avoids unclear, heavy tasks. Starting feels threatening, so people delay, scroll, and distract themselves. And then they blame themselves for procrastinating. Successful people don't start big, they start small. They lower the emotional weight of starting. 5 minutes, 1 page, 1 paragraph. Starting is the hardest part because it requires emotional activation. Once you start, momentum takes over. This is not mindset, it's psychology. When starting becomes easy, consistency becomes possible. Now let's talk about the middle of the day, because this is where many people lose trust in themselves. The afternoon crash hits, energy drops, focus disappears, irritation rises, and people think, I'm useless after lunch. They label themselves instead of understanding the cause. Most of the time, the crash isn't mental, it's physical. Irregular meals, blood sugar drops, no movement, hours of sitting, low oxygen. The brain is a physical organ. It needs fuel and circulation. When you ignore that, discipline collapses. Small habits here decide long-term outcomes.
Eating at consistent times stabilizes energy. Walking resets the nervous system. Movement lowers stress hormones and clears mental fog. That's why ideas come when you walk. When you feel stuck, forcing more work is often the wrong move. Changing your physical state changes your mental state. Now let's talk about evenings, because this is where tomorrow is decided. Most people end their day overstimulated and guilty. Endless scrolling, bright screens, mental noise, they carry that tension into sleep. Sleep becomes shallow. The next day starts tired, and the cycle continues. People try to fix this with motivation. Motivation can't fix sleep deprivation. Successful people protect their evenings. They create shutdown rituals. A clear end to work, reduced stimulation, calm signals to the brain. This isn't weakness, it's respect for biology. Sleep controls self-control. Studies show lack of sleep reduces discipline dramatically. That means even strong people struggle when sleep is poor. Protecting sleep is not optional if you want consistency. Now we reach the most important habit of all, how you talk to yourself when you fail. Because you will fail, you will miss days, you will break routines. The difference between success and struggle is not avoiding failure, it's how you respond to it. Most people turn mistakes into identity. I always mess up, I can't stay consistent. That shame drains motivation and safety. When the brain feels unsafe, it avoids effort. Successful people separate behavior from identity. They track without judgment. Did I show up today? Yes or no? That's it. No insults, no stories, just data. This creates psychological safety. Safety allows consistency. Consistency builds confidence. Confidence makes habits easier. Again, quiet progress. Finally, there's identity, not the motivational kind, the practical kind. Instead of asking, how do I force myself? Successful people ask, what would a healthy, disciplined version of me do here? Not perfect, not extreme, just healthy. The brain follows identity faster than rules. When you see yourself as someone who shows up gently but consistently, your actions align over time. Let me say this clearly. The habits that decide whether you succeed or struggle are not heroic. They won't impress anyone. They won't make you feel powerful in the moment, but they will slowly remove friction from your life. They will stop the daily fight inside your head. They will make progress feel natural instead of painful. If you're behind, overwhelmed, or disappointed in yourself, you're not broken. You're operating with habits that drain your energy instead of protecting it. Change the habits and the future changes with them. Not overnight, quietly, steadily. Start with one habit, just one. Don't try to fix your life, fix your systems. Success isn't loud, it's built in silence. And if this video taught you something real, like it so it reaches others who need it. Subscribe for calm, practical self-improvement that actually works. Share this with someone who's struggling silently. Your future isn't decided by motivation, it's decided by habits.